Hey everyone, my guest today is Thomas Schueneman, a global info worker who often combines the written and spoken word with the power of sound design. His mission is to make the incomprehensible digestible and reach as wide an audience as possible as soon as possible. Tom is the founder and editor in chief of Global Warming is Real and the host of the Global Warming is Real multimedia podcast. His work appears in Triple Pundit, Slate, Clean Technica, Planet Save, Earth 911, and the Monterey Bay Fisheries Trust, among others. Topics of particular interest include agriculture, oceanography, and climate policy. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank
I want
you.
to thank you for being here. And I was wondering if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're working on.
Well, I'm Tom Schueneman, and I am the host and producer of a podcast called Earthbound. The tagline for that is Stories from the Anthropocene, Life on a Warming Planet. So that gives you an idea of what it's about.
Mm.
I've been publishing a blog for the better part of 20 years now called globalwarmingisreal.com. So I'm a freelance writer, journalist, and podcaster. I've also worked as a musician and live performance audio engineer, sound engineer. So it's kind of dual passions right there.
Yeah.
I think what brought me to where I am as far as the environmental stewardship angle is a big influence was my father, who worked in the federal government for most of his career in various roles in environmental regulation and stewardship. And he was always an avid birder outdoors. When I was a kid, he made sure I was a Boy Scout. We went camping. He kind of instilled in me a love for the outdoors and nature. So as the years went on, I learned more about climate change, and I've kind of mixed the two, like with the podcasting. There's the sound. I love making soundscapes. So that's part of what I work on. I'm trying to combine the writing and the sound, the two things that I've been most passionate about in the podcast. So that's what I'm doing now.
Nice. Yeah, that little bit of extra goes a long ways, I feel like.
I think it does. I think especially with audio podcasts, you're really trying to create an atmosphere. And I think sound effects and music, the two things I've been, doing all my life.
Yeah. So did you work with bands or like speakers or
I mostly
like professional speakers?
with bands, and I'm no longer in San Francisco. I'm down the coast a little bit in Pacific Grove. But when I was in San Francisco, I worked for a show there. The company was Steve Silver Productions. It was a musical review. I did sound there for many years. Was this chief sound engineer and designer.
Okay.
And Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. And I guess the biggest star. A little quick story with at Grace Cathedral. We were doing some event, and Leonard Nimoy was a speaker, and I was going to put a head-worn microphone on him. And so we're dealing with the head-worn, and it goes around your ear. And he looked at me and goes, "No ear jokes," because it's Spock and all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's funny.
So that, and probably your listeners won't remember who Jesse Colin Young is, but back in the 60s, his anthem was "Come On, People Now, Smile on Your Brother." I did a little bit of touring with him, and after his heyday, it was in the 90s. He wasn't, but that was an interesting gig as well.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things I did with sound.
I could see where a cathedral would be difficult.
Yeah. It has its challenges. Obviously, the reverberation. It's just hard floors, hard walls, huge space. So you have to really keep. When you're reinforcing sound, when you're electronically reinforcing sound, you have to be careful. Just a little dab will do you. If it's easy for it to get carried away, and then you got all these reflections, and it starts to feed back if you're not careful.
Yeah. So, what type of topics do you talk about on your podcast? I mean, obviously climate change, but is it kind of like current events, what's happening in the news, or a mix of
It's a mix. Yeah, I try to keep current with current events.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is more on the website. I have a writer actually that helps me a lot with the website to try to stay current. With the podcast, In my years of writing about climate change, I've learned that sometimes the best way to talk about climate change, especially in this divisive age that we live in, and
Mhm.
how climate change has unfortunately become one of those divisive issues, is to not even mention climate change.
Yeah.
Kind of walk around it somehow, because I've talked to a lot of people that, I don't know, just don't believe in climate change. That's
Mhm.
just, to me, that's an odd thing to say. How do you not believe in what's happening in the climate? But be that as it may, but they are interested in, a lot of them, they hunt, they fish, they love the
Yeah.
outdoors, like I just mentioned. And
Yeah.
so that's the connection there. I think you find a way to reach people. Now with
Mhm.
Earthbound, I get kind of philosophical and a little bit about that. I do a lot of book reviews. A couple of the really interesting ones I've had was Kelly Ramsey, who wrote a book, Wildfire Days. She went to college and got a degree in fine arts, and then somehow ended up on a hotshot crew, a wildfire hotshot crew, which is like the elite firefighting.
Yeah.
And boy, I recommend her book. It's called Wildfire Days, and it's such brutal work.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting. It's really interesting to talk to the authors, to talk to people about their stories, what they're doing. That gives me hope when
Yeah.
I look out and you look at the news. Especially if you're interested in environmental issues,
Yeah.
it can be depressing. And especially if you just doom scroll all day long, oh my
Mhm.
God, we're all going to die. But it's good to talk to people that have similar interests of mine. They're interested in the environment. They want to do something to help save the planet, as it were.
Yeah.
I don't like that phrase either, by the way, because the planet's going to be here.
Right.
We're
Right.
not
It's
we're not saving the planet, but we all know what I mean by that, I think.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's inspiring to talk to these people, and
Yeah.
so it's a mix of me talking to people, doing interviews, and then I do have some shorter, just me talking, waxing poetic or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's about a year old now, the podcast, and I've really
Okay.
been enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, you've been going about as long as I have, and it's feel like you kind of learn how to okay, is this working? Is this, just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
even scheduling, like what time of day
yeah,
am I going to do this?
yeah,
I've realized first thing in the morning's not the time to record.
yeah.
I need to
I
get some
agree.
food in me before talking to anybody.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's a challenge, and it's interesting. I just reviewed this book by Peter Solomon, which it's
Mhm.
it's a good book. It's not John Steinbeck or anything, but it's a good book,
Okay.
and it's called 100 Years to Extinction. It's playing off of Stephen Hawking, who in 2017 said the species, we humans, have 100 years. I guess
Mhm.
we got to get off the planet and get to Mars, or else, to say I don't really buy
Right.
that. But my point here is just as far as podcasting, we
Mhm.
had about a 45-minute interview, and I was going through it, and I just decided that the audio technically was fine, but
Yeah.
as a discussion, it just wasn't. Where I was trying to edit it and get all the spaces and ums out, and then about
Yeah.
3 hours in, I go, "This isn't worth it." So
Oh,
I'm just gonna talk and review his book and relate his ideas. So sometimes you do an interview and you have to decide, nah, not gonna work.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. I suppose we should dig into some of the
Let's
the
dig in.
climate topics.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest question that I wanted to get to is the Paris Climate Agreement and what is the status of it? So it's been a while since I was in school. I graduated in 2021. But like from my understanding was you can withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, but
Mhm.
it takes 4 years to withdraw. So then when Trump withdrew us in his first term and then Biden put us back in, it was
Mhm.
like, did we ever leave the Paris Climate Agreement within that time? Now, of course, Trump signed us out of it
Yeah,
again or
again,
whatever.
yeah, on again, off again.
Yeah.
I don't really think we got completely out of it, no, and again, it's gonna take another 4 years, and
Mhm.
who knows what's gonna happen in 2028. I was actually in Paris in 2015 for COP21 when for the Paris Agreement being signed,
Okay.
and that was in all my years of writing about climate change. I was also at COP15 in 2009, And then I did COP21 in Paris in 2015.
Mhm.
And in Paris, it was the one moment where I really felt that the world, I mean, the vibe in Paris was that we're going to come away with something. Everybody was determined. The whole, what is, I think maybe all the countries except maybe three signed on originally.
Mhm.
And that seemed like we're actually taking this seriously. I mean, the language was, we have to ratchet up ambition and, it's what is imperfect, but we have something we can work with. So that felt good then in 2015. And then that whole ratchet up ambition thing hasn't really happened.
Yeah.
We had the pandemic, you have the US in and out. And so at this point, I'll be frank with
Mhm.
you. The whole UNFCCC, I think it's three C's process,
Yeah.
the United Nations, where all this happens,
Mhm.
the COP process, the Conference of the Parties, is what it stands for. I felt good about it in 2015, and now in 2020, well, COP 30 was last year,
Okay.
and it's like they can't even talk about fossil fuels. You know,
Yeah.
it just it's I think it's jumped the shark. I think it's lost its way. I am pessimistic about what the COP process can do. The Paris Agreement is all we have at this point. So I'm not saying that we should do away with it or anything. I
Yeah.
just think that the world needs to come together. It's a tough spot we're in.
Yeah.
We've kind of in a way backed ourselves into in a corner, and finding a way out. It's not going to be easy. And so that ratchet up ambition thing that
Mhm.
was part of the language that originally in 2015.
Yeah.
Some country, the European Union, there's some movement forward, but it's just completely inadequate. And the U.S. pulling out, the U.S.
Yeah.
wasn't even at officially. There were some representatives at COP 30
Okay.
in what is it, December, November, but the U.S. wasn't even there officially, and so that makes it, that's like the elephant in the room. It's going to be hard to make progress without the U.S. being part of it.
Is this kind of an initiative where better developed countries are helping the underdeveloped countries be more environmentally conscious, practice more sustainable practices while also making our own goals to reach at reducing our carbon footprint?
Yeah, the kind of that's generally the idea. I
Okay.
think part of this is to help support the developing nations in their effort to develop their economies without going through the fossil fuel stage
Mhm.
that all the developed countries did. The U.S. and other developed countries. What
Yeah.
is it? The INDCCs, individually determined. I can't remember what it is. There's a term where every country decides how they are going to go about reducing their carbon footprint.
Okay.
And so every
Yeah.
country, they can go about it however they feel works for them.
Mhm.
And also part of this whole UN process is the climate fund, the Green Climate Fund, which is helps support developing nations and their
Okay.
economic development.
Yeah, I'm kinda remembering that, and I remember it almost seemed like some of the countries involved weren't even in agreement on China wanted the strictest goals, but they didn't want anything in place to be held accountable or, like, be checked on, whereas America didn't want goals, but or I
Yeah,
it was just
I think
like
that sounds about, yeah. You got, yeah, there you got the two big players, China
uh,
and the U.S., and both of them. You know, China for its part, it's really rocking and rolling in solar energy, solar panels, and everything.
okay.
They're also rocking and rolling in coal. It's kind of
Uh-huh.
they burn a lot of coal, but they're also really developing a lot of renewable energy. And the U.S., yeah, U.S. never wants to be told what to do.
Right, right.
So it just
Yeah.
depends on, with Biden, he was more into it, and obviously with Trump, Trump is doing everything he can to just pretend climate change doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
So, what I feel like I'm noticing, as someone who's voted both ways,
mhm.
I went to school for environmental science and was a vegetarian forever. And I feel like people will try to put me in boxes based off of
Mm.
one thing they hear about me. But so, what I'm seeing as someone who can understand both sides is almost like you said, if you mention climate change, they're done listening.
Yeah,
But there are a lot of environmental initiatives that we can be taking to make our country a better place
yeah,
to live, healthier for everyone, healthier for plant life and other animal species. And, it's almost as soon as you start talking about the environment, certain people's minds automatically go to climate change. And it's like, no,
yeah, yeah.
good
And they
water
make
is
a lot of
important, you know.
and they make yeah, they make a lot of assumptions. And yeah, water, I think one I mentioned in our pre-talk about
Mhm,
Bill McKibben. He wrote a book
mhm,
called "Here Comes the Sun." That's his latest book, and it outlines, back 10 or even less, but say 10 years ago, solar energy was uh, coming along, but it was still kind of expensive, and solar panels, the efficiency wasn't quite there
mhm.
yet. The past few years, it's been almost like AI, just like a
Yeah.
state change. It's like leaped forward. Globally, the vast majority, I think 90 some percent of the new electrical generation globally is from solar and wind.
Okay.
That is one, and here in the US, it's
Mhm.
also one of the largest growing sectors. It's also true in the US that most of new electrical generation is from solar and wind. And so, you know, renewable energy, it kind of gets glommed on with climate change, but
Yeah.
we can think about energy independence. You want to be self reliant
Mhm.
and with your energy. It's kind of like you want clean water. Why not clean energy? I mean, and
Right.
you can, with solar energy, you can generate your own. And
Yeah.
another interesting aspect with solar energy is, so let's say you have an oil well.
Uh-huh.
You dig up the oil coal, you dig it up, you put it in the train, or you process it, you burn it. You got to go back and keep that process going over and over. You keep having to extract and burn. With solar or wind, you put up the infrastructure, a solar
Mhm.
plant, solar farm, or wind turbine, and that's it. The
Yeah.
energy is always there. People are going to say that the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. But my point is, you don't have to keep extracting it. The energy is there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And though the point I just said about wind not always blowing and sun not always shining, storage is also coming along technically
Right.
with the generation. So the the combination of the two, renewable energy, is really coming along. I think it's something that you might be able to talk about
Mhm.
and not get into that climate change. Everybody turns
Yeah.
off and goes into their own little corner and doesn't listen anymore. Because
Yeah.
there is a commonality, I think, between political factions. It's
Mhm.
really sad to me that the environmental space, as it were, climate change, has to be
Yeah.
this divisive environmental issue.
Right. Right. Yeah, so I don't know if you know very much about the things going on in Iowa right now, but there's several different things going on environmentally here. Our water, so the high nitrates in the water,
Mm.
Iowa has a high, very high cancer rate, like one of the highest in the
Oh,
country. So the water quality is a huge issue, and I believe I heard that the EPA was thinking about cutting the acceptable number of nitrates in our sources in half, which would take out like half of the wells that we have in my area, anyways. So that would be a funding issue. But then we've got the carbon or the CO2 pipelines. That's something a lot of people are concerned about and fighting. And then,
mhm,
but I will say I am seeing more and more solar panels put up
mm,
all over the place, especially out in the country. For whatever reason, I don't know if they just have more space, but even in towns now, I'm seeing that people are starting to get on
yeah,
with the solar, which I think is a good sign in a kind of red area that
yeah,
people
yeah,
are. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's an example right there that is it not necessarily some woke agenda to
right.
put solar panels out. It's kind of common sense.
Hmm.
Understandably, maybe like I was saying, 10, 15 years ago, it might not have been as practical, but now the technology has come along to the point where it
Yeah.
just kind of makes sense. Uh,
Yeah. So my My one thing that I was coming across, and this has been like 12 years now, or 10 at least, kind of related to what you say about technology. So when I was learning about the energy and everything it takes to make a battery for like a Prius, it
Mhm.
automatically puts the car 70,000 miles behind. So like you need
Yeah.
to be driving that car for 70,000 miles
Yeah.
before it makes an impact environmentally. Has technology changed in a way?
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. The battery issue is, there's gonna be no form of energy that is completely benign. The
Hmm.
batteries have come along since 10 or 12 years ago. Being the liberal that I am, I'm driving a 12-year-old Prius, but, uh,
Oh, geez.
it's got the miles on it that
Yeah,
it's good now.
yeah.
That's a good point. The battery issue is it's one of the issues that need to be worked out because
Uh-huh.
there is extraction involved in renewable energy. You have to get the
Mhm,
cobalt and the nickel and all the minerals for these batteries. I
mhm.
did some writing a couple of years ago for a company called, oh my gosh, Aqua Metals,
Okay,
um, and their mission is to create a less toxic way to recycle these batteries.
okay. Yeah.
And they're working on it. They're doing pretty well. What I learned when I was working with them was that the most recycled product are lead acid batteries in cars.
Okay.
It's all I guess most of that when you turn it, your old battery goes in, most of that gets recycled. The problem with most of the lead acid battery recycling is it's smelting. It's a very
Okay.
toxic process. So
Mhm.
what Aqua Metals is trying to do is find a way to recycle these batteries in a much more environmentally friendly way, because
Yeah.
that will be an issue. All these electric cars there's more and more electric cars on the road. And
Yeah.
eventually, I do have to say that my Prius, my 12, 13-year-old Prius, the battery seems to be doing fine.
Great. Yeah, that's good to
But they
know.
will they do work. Yeah, it is good to know because I guess replacing them is pretty expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then replacing them, what happens to the old battery?
Yeah.
So as these cars, on the road age and the batteries age, there's going to be just this influx of batteries.
Mhm.
And so, that has to be dealt with. It's not like it's all moonbeams and butterflies. We have to work out
Yeah.
these issues. But I do believe that, fossil fuel energy did great things for humanity.
Mhm.
You and I wouldn't probably be here if it weren't for that.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of run its course in a lot of ways. I don't think that we can continue to extract to the last drop. It's not economically viable anyway. And the environmental impact is already, in my opinion, we're already seeing a lot of that right now
Mhm.
due to the burning
Yeah.
of fossil fuels.
Right. What is your opinion on the windmills? Like, I guess I personally I don't like what they're doing to the bird
Mm,
populations, but I was reading, I cannot remember which country it was. They started painting one propeller a different color
yeah.
so that the birds can recognize it, and I don't know if it was the same country, they started having them make a noise that humans can't hear but bats can, to prevent bats
Mm,
from flying into them. So I thought
yeah.
those were kind of interesting
Yeah.
solutions to the issue, but I
The,
don't
the,
see that here.
I don't see that a lot here. I've seen some that were like trying different, um, instead of the blade going around, there's different ways, like a whirly whirly kind of thing, just something the
Okay.
wind can catch it, but it's not necessarily as dangerous for birds. But that's like the batteries in cars. That's another
Yeah.
issue with renewable energy is
Yeah.
you can say, well, we can. This is a solution. Look at this solar panel. Look at this turbine. But then when
Yeah.
the problem is scaling all this up, and then what happens when you scale something?
Yeah.
And I think these are the issues that we're starting to grapple with right now. And
Right.
the bird my brother-in-law actually, I don't know if he's still doing it right now, but that's one of the things he did was assess the bird killings around turbines.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
What were his findings, do you know?
uh, I don't have specifics, but I know that it was enough of an issue that somebody
Okay.
paid him to do it. And this was a
Yeah.
while ago. So yeah,
Yeah.
these are issues. These are issues. I remember in 2000, I think this is a while ago. There was 2009. Wow, time flies. I was in Germany on a press trip, and
Uh,
the idea was Germany was trying to show. There's a group of like 12 or 15 of us from all over the world.
yeah.
They were trying to show us their progress in renewable
Okay.
energy and climate change. And so we visited a solar plant and then saw a lot of wind turbines, and they were really trying to develop their renewable energy. And I'm not sure what the state of that is. I've heard that they've kind of slid back a little bit, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously, things aren't going to be perfect when you're first starting something out.
Right.
There is some trial and error, and I think people do forget about that. Every time I see those Asian beetles, I'm like, why did we bring these here again?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so many
Yeah. Yeah.
invasive species that we have now that weren't supposed to be here. But
Right.
um, at least with the climate directed projects, like we're not releasing an invasive it's not as
Yeah.
bad as releasing an invasive species. Like things can be tweaked and changed to
Right.
work
Yeah.
a little bit better. So that's one upside. And I think that there's like incentives that might make people a little bit more likely to switch over to things. I know that
Hmm.
people here in Iowa, there's grants or whatever that you can get if you plant, like if you let the government turn part of your property into like a pollinator
Mm-hmm.
area and stuff like that.
That's a good
And
idea. Yeah.
yeah, but of course then you get people mad that their tax dollars are going, like you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, something like that. We need pollinators, so
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you need to protect their habitat.
Yeah. It's just funny how people react to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
change.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, what are the sustainable development goals and what do they hope to achieve?
The Sustainable Development Goals were adopted in 2015. 2015 was
Hmm.
a big year. There's 17 of them, and each of the 17 address climate change, renewable energy, education. I think. Let me as we're talking here, let me just pull this up. But what they hope to achieve is, well, I guess, in not to be coy, but a sustainable development regime. Okay, here we go. I'll just
Okay.
read them off to you here.
Okay.
1 is no poverty. 2 is zero hunger. 3 is good health and well-being. 4 is quality education. 5 is gender equality. Then we have clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, ocean health, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. So, that's a pretty significant undertaking. And
Hmm.
each one of those goals has sub goals to help work toward that. So as I just mentioned, it's kind of trying to cover the entirety of human endeavor and
Yeah.
work toward a better future. It plays out. There was in 2000 there was the Millennial Development Goals,
Hmm.
and I think this was just to kind of replace those. Theoretically, the goal for achieving the SDGs was 2030.
Okay.
And of course, that was in 2015. I thought we got 15 years. Now we're in 2026.
Yeah.
I don't see us, there's been progress made.
Hmm.
I'm not saying there's no progress, but achieving all the goals as they were laid out in 2015 by 2030 in the next 4 years, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think
Right.
that's going to happen.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors real quick.
Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. You were making me think about the New Orleans, what is that called? It's a 50-year plan. I did a couple research papers on the stormwater management in New Orleans. It was a 50-year plan, and I felt like, that seems like such a long time, but so much of that takes time to get just to complete, to get it up and running. But I wish them the best of luck.
Yeah. It's daunting. That's one of my concerns with climate change is making the changes that we need to make takes time. And I feel that we've wasted so much time.
Yeah.
We've known about this for quite a while.
Yeah.
And really haven't done enough anyway. Yeah, it's good to give yourself 50 years and, 45 years later, we should probably get started on that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it does look like they're working on it, at least. Like for the city, that area, it looks like they're
That's good.
Actually active and doing stuff.
Did that come out of Katrina or was that, or?
I can't remember when that was formed. I think it was after Katrina, but I'm not quite sure. But I know that there's government programs that will help you like jack your house up so that when it floods, like there's a lot of people on stilts and stuff down there. Or I call them stilts. Down there, so it's kind of something that they've addressed, that there's so much culture in the area that no one wants to leave, and so what are we going to do about it so that we don't have to, because they're losing 2 inches of coastline every year, which is outrageous.
I've talked to people that kind of address that, living near coastlines, and I live near a coastline, that we might need to start thinking about a managed retreat at some point later in the century. Either managed retreat or unmanaged. We either do this in a thoughtful way, or we wait until it's a catastrophe and everybody's panicking and but it's good that New Orleans is, at least sounds like they're thinking about it. A 50-year plan. It's half a century.
Yeah, and I can't remember what year it started. I feel like it was 2013, but I'm not sure. So the one thing about the people who aren't really believing in climate change is they see that people talk about coastlines disappearing but then they'll see I know, like, one of the most popular ones is, like, something about Obama saying that this area was going to disappear within our lifetimes, but then he had a house there or whatever. The It's weird because any of the short-term predictions, like, a lot of them don't seem to come true. So New Orleans probably, if it's 2 inches a year, it's not gonna be gone in our lifetime, but certain areas is gonna be you know, it's going to become a worse and worse of a floodplain, and
Yeah.
they definitely are going to need a plan of maybe retreating further inland. I mean, I guess what is your opinion on on all of that? What do other coastlines look like, I guess?
Well, what popped in my head as we were talking here is South Florida, Miami, because the soil is, I mean, it even on clear days,
Mhm.
it just bubbles up through the
Really?
ground. They have clear day flooding, I think it's
Uh,
called, something like that, where it's not necessarily raining, but they're still getting flooding. So that is an area that is in danger of, I don't know what
okay.
Miami is going to do, but they definitely have issues to think about. Now, there's low-lying islands. There's Tuvalu's and the Maldives and
Mhm.
those small island nations. They're at these climate conferences. They're one of the most vocal of we got to do something because their country is literally it's disappearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will lose their land by the end of the century, most likely. It's definitely
Okay.
heading that way. Here in California, frankly, I should know because I live here. In San Francisco, I know that there's sea level rise and there's concern. I
Mhm.
don't think I don't get the vibe, the idea that it's much of an issue here on the West Coast as it is for some reason on the East Coast. Sea level rise is not equal
Okay.
around the globe, so
Okay.
some areas get it more than others. Now, when I say that, I could be completely wrong. California must have issues somewhere. I just don't. I live in the Monterey Bay area, and
Uh-huh.
what's been happening here is that we've been getting some odd. Well, that's another topic about ocean warming and things. But as far as the sea level rise,
Uh-huh.
um, the New Orleans, the South Florida, there's some naval base along the Atlantic seaboard where they're dealing with their. I don't know what they're doing right now, but back before the current administration, there was talk about doing something about climate change because they were
Okay.
experiencing sea level rise. The
Mhm.
military, um, for the most part, they understand that climate change is a threat multiplier. I was at
Mhm.
a conference once years ago where some he was he was in the military somewhere, and the Navy had done a report on the threat multiplier of climate change.
Mhm.
So, climate change will destabilize populations. It'll have climate migration, and that's going to destabilize, communities, resource wars, water. It'll affect water.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of getting off topic here.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Well, yeah. So I think that the people that don't believe in climate change, it's difficult.
Mhm.
Because I don't know how people come to that conclusion when I've come to a completely different conclusion. I do believe
Right.
that climate change is real. It's happening. All the predictions, it's hard to predict. The models are getting better and better. And
Mhm.
in my opinion, I think some of the impacts of climate change have happened a little bit faster than
Mhm.
was predicted. Ocean heat would be one of them. The ocean is
Yeah.
absorbing a lot of heat. About 90% of the excess heat is absorbed in the oceans. So a lot of the what have been considered carbon sinks that soak up the carbon are in danger of becoming carbon emitters. The Amazon rainforest is one. For one thing, we're burning
Yeah.
it down
Right.
to clear for agriculture and things.
Yeah.
So the thing about climate change, it doesn't, you need to address it in some political way because politics is
Mhm.
just the art of the possible, right? It's just
Yeah.
getting things done in a community. But climate change is just an imbalance in the carbon cycle.
Mm.
It's just physics, really. And so, if we can just um, agree on a reality, and then the debate can be about what do we do about it. as opposed to
Right.
that just doesn't even exist. Just go away. I don't want to talk. Nothing gets done then. And, we can, as the current administration is doing, trying to pull out of everything,
Mhm.
the endangerment finding, the Paris Agreement, the IPCC, the scientific community that puts together all the reports that inform the UN, pulling
Mhm.
out of all of that and doubling down on coal. And
Mhm.
you can do that. And he is doing that, but that's not going to make climate change go away. I mean, you can
Right.
deny it all you want, but
Yeah.
we're still here in the world, and we're still throwing a monkey wrench into the carbon cycle and
Yeah.
and that's my concern, is just getting to a point where we can accept a reality, and then we can have our discussions about what we do about
Yeah. Right. While you were talking about the ocean temperatures rising,
it. Yeah.
I remember um, doing a project or paper on a fish that they're from two different species, but from the same genus. And as the ocean temperatures have risen, one seemed to evolve or adapt, whatever, to the higher temperatures, while the
Mm.
other one, a very similar fish, the population started dwindling from it. I do think that, like, oh, well, things will just evolve. We'll be able to deal with things over time because it is a slow change. But if you start running out of places to live,
Yeah.
which which I know that there is evidence of, coastline disappearing in some areas. So, um, it's and I think too, a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. I'm just going to
Mm.
keep living my life. What I,
Yeah,
you
yeah, sure.
know,
There's a lot of that. And I'm in a position where I can sit here and think about it, you know. And I know
yeah,
people, they have their lives, and everything that's going on in the world. It's a tough
hmm,
time to be in the world these days.
yeah,
Whatever your leaning is, everybody seems pretty tense.
yeah,
And then put climate change on top of that, and people just, I can understand people just wanting, I can't deal with that right now. I understand
yeah,
that. So that's I think that's my challenge,
hmm,
is communicating climate change without, I can preach to the choir all day long.
yeah,
And then there's that, and that's fine. You can have your community, and then there's the people that you will never reach.
hmm,
And I spent first 10 years or so of writing about climate change, trying to reach those people. When I get, they'd troll me, and we'd get in our debates, and I finally realized
yeah.
this is
It's
pointless.
right.
It's absolutely pointless. They're not
Yeah.
going to change my mind. I'm not going to change theirs. So what are we doing here?
Hmm.
But then there's the people that, that aren't like me, like just thinking about this all the time, but aren't completely denying it either. And they don't know
Hmm.
what to think or what to do. Reaching those people is the challenge. And it's a
Yeah.
challenge. I'm not even, I try to get better at it, but it's always a challenge, because how do you, how do you reach people, and then what do you want them to do? And
Right.
people think, and rightly so, that okay, if I put this piece of plastic in the recycling, what difference does it really make? And or if I buy an EV, what difference does
Hmm.
that really make? Or whatever it might be. And
Yeah.
honestly, one individual action doesn't make a lot of difference. I
Right.
could have the Prius out there, or I could have a Hummer or something,
Right.
and it makes such a tiny little difference as to be statistically insignificant. But
Right.
I think when you can build a community of, action happens in a community.
Right.
It's one person's not going to save the world. It's got to be a group effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just made me think about, like, voter turnout. Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, what does my one vote matter?
Right.
Well, when
Exactly.
10,000 people
Yeah.
are thinking the same thing in one area, and a vote is
Yeah.
won by that small of a margin, that's
Yeah. I mean,
it's important.
the one vote makes a lot more difference than the no vote.
Mhm.
Than not voting at all.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. I mean, I can understand the frustration with that too, because it does seem like
Yeah.
it's not making any difference. But it's the power that we have.
Mhm.
I did an interview. I reviewed the book. It's called Catastrophe Ethics, and
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like what was just talking about. People go in the age of polycrisis, where all these different things are pushing at our attention.
Mhm.
All these existential crises, and we're all this kind of thing, and you feel like
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do. His approach is just live your values. If like for instance, if I'm concerned about the environment, well, I'll put the little piece of plastic in the recycling,
Yeah.
understanding that it may end up in landfill anyway,
Yeah.
but I'm living my values. And
Right.
if enough people do that, you know, and if your values are different, if it is buying the Hummer and whatever,
Yeah.
okay, fine. That's your value. Just do what is important,
Yeah.
and that'll eventually make an impact.
Yeah, I guess not to get too far down into a rabbit hole, but I feel like too many people's values are based off of what they're seeing on their TV and on their
Mm,
phone, and
yeah,
not enough
yeah.
around the world around them. I don't know.
That's a good. I've yeah. I think misinformation and
Mhm.
the internet and even AI.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
benefits to all that, but I think one of the dangers, and I think AI is a good example, is we're
Mhm.
just running way ahead of our wisdom
Yeah.
to deal with it.
Yes, yeah. So I have a pet parrot. I don't know if you've heard him scream at all. He seems
Right.
to be over his cartoons downstairs. I have people that send me videos of AI parrots and they look so real. And to me, I know it's not real, but then
Mhm.
to the sender, I'm like, I don't want to insult their intelligence by asking, that this is AI, right? Because
Yeah,
they might
I
have
know.
known and just sent it to me because they think it's cute. But
Yeah.
it's just that one small thing that might encourage someone to go and buy a parrot as a pet thinking it's gonna do all these things, and then you realize, "Oh, no,
Uh-huh.
I've got a really mental
Yeah,
permanent
yeah.
toddler."
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, this is a real animal here. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
true. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. I see stuff on I don't know, the social medias, and it's just obviously AI, but it's really good, and
Mhm.
it's a real danger because you can have, somebody you can put words in somebody's mouth, and
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
and it looks real, and you think they said it, and you might actually act on something, and then you think, oh, you know what? I think that might have been AI, and
Right.
I just think
Yeah.
it's and the as a writer and a podcaster, I use some of the AI tools to help
Mhm.
me research and do things like that. But I recently tried to have. I'm putting together a listener survey for my podcast. I want to have an incentive, so
Uh-huh.
I asked AI Chat GBT to help me put something together. Just like
Mhm.
a little essay thing. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this is good. We're doing good. We're doing good. And then I actually read
Yeah.
it, and I go, no, this is just slop. I can't use this.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of buzzwords and not
Yeah.
saying really anything. And so and it looked good, and it sounded kind of good, I guess. But you read it, it's just not saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I've tried that as well, and it just I'll have it, "Okay, can you summarize this event?" But you have to be very specific and just have them
Hmm.
summarize it. Don't try to because, um, I I've had people comment on my episodes like just AI, like I sound like AI or something. My professors have told me that my writing sounds like a dictionary. It's just very straightforward. So I'm like, "Okay, how can I add some natural flow to my episodes?" And we're totally off topic right now. I'm sorry.
That's, that's all
But,
right.
I'm like, "Okay, well, let's see if I can use AI to kind of make my work a little bit more personable." And I don't I don't wanna sound like I'm talking to a 10-year-old, it will add all these weird little, like, slang things in, and it's like, "No, I don't want to use
Yeah, yeah,
nicknames for things. I still want it to be factual." And so I'm just like, "Okay."
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. It's sometimes, well, I've used it. It'll get me started. It's just
Uh-huh.
write something,
Yeah.
and then I can start. I can edit the AI and make it my own. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to finding have it find your voice.
Yeah.
I know we're off topic, but just another interesting thing is I have some. I don't know why. I'm not really looking for a job, but I have these job alerts on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
if some voiceover. I would like to maybe do some voiceover work. And
Uh-huh.
all the voiceover work that's advertised on LinkedIn, I mean, all of it that I've seen is to train AI. And I'm not doing that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't wanna do that either. I had someone say that I should narrate audiobooks before, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"That'd
Uh,
actually be really fun," but I don't know how to get into that.
yeah.
So
You should check out a website called Edge. I think it's Edge Studio. Anyway,
okay.
check Edge Studio. That's all about voiceover
Really?
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Check that out.
Yeah, I mean, I have the equipment, might as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Which I see we have the same microphone.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I like it. It's a good sounding mic, and I like the dual. I can do the USB and the XLR as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid I get too close to mine sometimes, but so have to adjust it, I guess. Anyways, is there any other point that you really wanna drive home?
Well, I think what I'd like to drive home is that we live undeniably in very divisive times.
Mhm.
I know that in the US, environmental regulations are kind of on the chopping block, but I just want people to, it don't have to be all worried about climate change, but be what I would like to say is people to get off their phones, and
Mhm.
I'm talking to myself too, get off the
Mhm.
phones, get off the internet, go outside and touch grass,
Yeah.
get outside.
Yes.
That'd be my get outside and appreciate nature. I think that's one of the steps into making progress in all the things we've been talking about is
Mhm.
people just connecting with nature. I think that's one of the big problems in our society right now is a big, huge disconnect with nature. And
Yeah.
I don't mean, taking a big hike, just going outside and
Yeah.
noticing the trees and it sounds kind of corny and the flowers, smell the flowers.
Yeah.
But really, I mean that for me anyway, I'm very fortunate. I live in a beautiful area, the Monterey Bay
Mhm.
area, so I can take a walk and look at the water.
Yeah.
But I think in most people have some, if it's just going outside in their backyard and listening to the birds sing,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think slowing down and touching grass, and
Yeah.
I think that's my message really of all this,
Yeah.
um, and listen to Earthbound, Earthbound
Yeah, and
podcast.
listen to Earthbound. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. It's really good for your mental health to get outside too.
it is.
My thing is if I'm having a rough time, and I know cardio might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if I get out on the bike trail and sometimes I'll listen to a podcast, but sometimes it's nice to just listen to the birds out on the
Hmm.
bike trail
Hmm.
and take in the scenery, and it can change your entire outlook of the day.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yeah, really. I go down and fortunately it's like a 5-minute walk. I can
mhm.
just listen to the waves and the birds. There's lots of birds and look for the otters. We have lots of
Uh-huh.
otters and things. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love otters.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm undeniably a very privileged person.
Yeah.
I'm a white dude in America living in Monterey Bay. So
Yeah.
how more privileged can you get than that?
Yeah, that's alright. Well,
So,
but I can say small town Iowa, there's still some nature to be seen, even like you said,
yeah.
even if it's in your own backyard or you gotta go to the city park or
Yeah.
whatever.
It is there. And I think that can be part of the excitement of it is just going outside. And when you think it's, just,
Yeah.
you know, the street, look around. Maybe there's something you haven't noticed before that's,
Yeah,
um,
that's true. So, sounds good. Alright, well, I wanna thank you for being here today,
well, thank you.
and I
It's
think
been a
this will be a nice
fun
one.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah, I think the audience will like it. It's a little different than I normally do, but that's kind of what I've been trying to
Good.
get
Good.
into. So, I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Alright. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.